So today I turned 31, and maybe by the time that you're watching this video, my birthday is already passed, but I thought this would be the perfect time to reflect on what my life has been, some of the lessons that I learned, as well as reflect on what it means to grow into a man while living in a foreign country. Now, I know a video like this, especially from a stranger on the internet, may not hit you, you may not receive it, and I know when you look at the algorithm and what's on your YouTube feed right now, you may be tempted to click off, but if I can just have your attention for a minute, maybe you can listen to the first couple of minutes. I promise you, no matter how long this video is, even if you just watch 5 minutes, I think you're gonna find this video to be highly valuable because there's a lot of things I wanted to share that's sitting on my heart right now, and I just wanted to give it to the world, and hopefully this message is received very positively. So with that being said, let's get into the video. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Terrence Reynolds. I'm a 31-year-old, I guess you would call a software engineer here in Japan. I almost want to like drop that title because that's not the way that I want to define myself. I'm a 31-year-old black male living in Japan, and I've been reflecting, man, like my life has been so crazy to think about. Like my story, a black man from Cleveland, Ohio, living in Japan, is probably a story that maybe only one in a thousand people can probably tell. And I may be even like putting out in the upper bounds of the estimations here. But when it comes to people who actually are willing to share this story may be the only story that you will ever find on the internet because it's so unique, and very few people are going to be willing to be this vulnerable, especially on camera. Now that I'm 31, there's no ambiguity. I am a fully grown man. Some people, even in my comments, call me Unc. And that's crazy to believe because I still feel so youthful in spirit. And man, sometimes I really wonder, what does being a man supposed to feel like? What does it look like? Because I never really had that example growing up, especially all throughout my 20s. You see, my dad passed away at a very young age. And when I reflect on how that shaped me as a person, it's very unique in a sense because, you see, growing up as a kid from Cleveland, I never thought that I would make it this far. I mean, seriously, think about it. I'm a software engineer living in Japan. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, St. Clair Avenue. I grew up in the ghetto in the hood. I lost my dad at a very young age. I mean, any kid who grew up in the sort of environment that I grew up in, where would they be? I mean, the statistics, the media will have you tell it. They'll probably be dead, in jail. The system at all wasn't necessarily set or designed for someone like me to succeed. I think about the school graduation rates where I'm from. It was like 50% of black men would have never even graduated high school, let alone cross the shores and live in a foreign country without having to give their life to the military. And my life is so unique, and it's been so weird for me to walk down this path that even today when I was celebrating my birthday and I'm having drinks at this bar in Tokyo, I'm like, man, like, this is my life. It almost feels otherworldly. At times it could feel like I'm living an out-of-body experience, man. And just as I age, as I grow, as I go through all of the steps and phases in life, living in a foreign country, having to define what masculinity looks like for me and what it means to be a man, especially because I lost my father at a very young age. I was 14 years old when he passed away. That means that now that I'm 31, I have spent more time on this earth without him than I did with him. And when I think about my life in general and how the likelihood of a life like this happening for someone like me, I mean, seriously, if I shake the cosmic dice on my life 100 times over, this story happens maybe even one out of every 1,000 times of me shaking this dice. When I look at the history of people just like me, a black person living in Western society, our ancestors came here on boats, man. We were taken from Africa, sent to the U.S. At least in my own family history, my family is from the South. My mother tells me stories of the civil rights era, of her not being able to drink in certain water fountains. I'm sure my dad experienced the same thing. When I think about the generational trauma that society brought to us, and to know that in this relay race of life that I have managed to shift that story, that all of that tragedy, all of that trauma that so many people before me have faced, that I have managed to take this story with it, and not solely by myself, because it takes a community to bring me to where I'm at today. I can't say that I'm like this special person, nor would I even pretend to be. I mean, I did work incredibly hard, but to see this story of my family legacy go from extended family legacy go from Africa to North America to now I'm living in Tokyo, Japan. It gives me a real moment of reflection. In life, we stand on the shoulder of our ancestors, and I'm hoping that when I think about the context of my life and how my life connects to this bigger picture of even future generations, that I want to be that generational curse breaker as I navigate my life here in Japan. When I have phone calls to my 70-year-old mother, it almost feels like I did the impossible. It doesn't feel like that to me, but oftentimes it takes people from older generations to remind me how unique and special this story is. And when I go on the internet and I make these videos, I also want to encourage people to have that similar story for themselves. I'm not saying that you should walk down my path in particular, but these videos, when you watch someone else do it, it can hit you in a certain place of your heart to be like, man, like if this guy can do it, I can probably do it too. And I want that video to be this. I mean, I don't know who's watching this video right now, man. I don't know who will watch this video. Sometimes I wonder if I ever have a child one day, a daughter or a son, where they see these videos and they think, man, like this is where my father is at this stage of his life. I want this to almost be like I almost want every single video that I do to act as another page in this chapter, in this book that I'm writing called The Book of Life by Terrence Reynolds. Some of my favorite metaphors in life come from anime. When I grew up as a kid, I used to watch Dragon Ball Z and Naruto. And when I think about the context of those characters and how those characters became great, when you take the main character Goku or even the main character Naruto, before they were able to achieve this universal worldly level of success, they had people who they never met, their own fathers, who helped paved the way for them. You think in the case of Goku, you have Bardock, who sent his son onto a ship called Earth, and he eventually becomes like the hero of the universe. Or you think of Naruto, who dad sacrificed his life, and Naruto ends up being like that change in the world. And I think, and maybe part of the reason why I related to these characters so much, even subconsciously, is because in a way their story is similar to mine. Now, I don't have any preconceived notions that I'm the main character in this huge world that we live in, but I am the main character, at least from my own perspective, my own life. And what I want to do for this world is help the world as much as I can and inspire people based off my own personal story and my own journey. It takes, when you come from these environments like many people like me come from, it takes a lot of motivation, it takes a lot of willpower to break out of these cycles, man. This, to be quite honest with you guys, it wasn't easy. I think about the amount of times, whether explicitly or implicitly by society, that was so what I can achieve, or the limitations for someone like me. When you look around and you see the environment and you see every single older example of what you could be like is effectively down on their luck, and in many cases just outright failures, it has an impact on your self-esteem. And I'm not saying like the relationship I even had with my father was all that great either. I mean, at least when my dad was alive, one can argue that he was a very antagonistic force in my life. And when you come from these environments, it's very common for Black men like us to be filled with anger. We feel like we want to prove something to the world because society tells us over and over again, whether explicitly or implicitly, that our lives aren't worthy of anything. I think this is a story of masculinity in general. When you study the ideas of masculinity and how it interacts in society, you often get told that your value is connected to how skillful you are, how competent you are. And for many of us, there's a delta between what society views as a valuable man and where we sit in that scale. And that can create this sense of frustration, this anger, this sense that whether it's your teachers, your parents, the older generations, or even the media in general, that you want to prove them wrong. And I spent most of my 20s relying on that energy of like, hey, I'm going to work really, really hard to prove everybody else wrong. And frankly, I mean, I overdid it. My life story has been me starting school at 16, graduating at 20, starting a business at 20, doing that for 2 years, deciding to leave that behind, moving to Japan, starting off at the bottom of the totem pole and working my way up into the top 1%. And if you want to learn more about that story and how I did it, you can check out one of the videos that I did a couple of weeks ago. I think it's a lot of information in there. But the point that I'm trying to make is that what motivated me so far was trying to prove everybody wrong. But in essence, when you're trying to prove other people wrong, in a way, you're also trying to prove your value to them. And as I grow older, as I mature as a man, I'm starting to realize that when you come from that mentality, as powerful as it may seem, it can eat you up on the inside because there's an insecurity that's driving you. And as I age, as I become more mature, I'm trying to replace that insecurity, the idea that I need to prove somebody wrong because I feel this sense of maybe righteousness, justice, and anger, and replace it with love, replace it with something bigger, because I accomplished a lot so far in my life. But what drove me in my 20s, what I defined as success in my 20s, doesn't look like that today. Success to me does not look like a paycheck, believe it or not. It doesn't look like, oh, I got this job at this company, because that's irrelevant to me now. I want to do something different. That's what this YouTube channel is. It's me starting off on the ground floor again. In many ways, I'm 31, but I feel like I'm 18 again, starting all over, because I know that for round two of my life story. So if my success in my 30s is only there to benefit me, then what I'm doing is not good enough. I want to take this time in this stage of my life to build a platform to help other people, to treat every video as a stepping stone for somebody else, and to light the path that I walk down to make that journey much shorter for the next person that's watching this video. And that's why I do all these videos about Japan and my life story, for better or for worse. I know people on the internet judge me for it, and they don't like some of the life choices that I made, but hey, that's exactly why I'm here to share. I'm here to share both the highs and the lows. So many creators go on here and they just kind of give you this prescribed BS of like what it's like to live in Japan. They only share their highlight reels, but I want to be open with my audience and share both the good and the bad, as well as my own perspective, and give context to it. Because one of the most important things that we can share is not just advice, but it's our own personal stories. Personal stories for me, when I used to read biographies in my early 20s, helped give me some sort of guidelines, as well as like guiding lights. Think of a plane that's going down the runway. Those lights on both the right and the left side is there to guide that plane for takeoff. And I hope I'm not rambling when I say this, but every video that I do is in a way that thing for me. Life is scary in a way, because people like me aren't supposed to make it this far. I have this paranoid sense sometimes that I can lose it all tomorrow, in many ways that I can. Unfortunately, due to socioeconomic conditions that I was raised in America, there is no safety net for me. It is my goal, and I'm sure many people who are watching this video feel the same way. It is our goal to break those generational traumas. We might not have the safety net, but we have the opportunity to become the safety net for others, to be that support system for others, that leader in a way. And this is how I spent most of my life in my 20s, because I do know that if you follow a lot of this red pill manosphere advice, they will tell you that what it means to be a man is solely based on your material success. I don't really believe that to be the case. I think that there's multiple pillars that help you stand as a man. Yes, your competency, your knowledge is one of them, but I spent so much time in my early 20s going to therapy, understanding what my traumas are, my weaknesses, and how I show up in the world, and how that impacts and shape the relationships that I have with other people. And I want to be sure that whatever that I'm doing in my life for my future family, the future generation behind me, that I just don't leave them a bunch of get money BS advice, because there's more to life than just that. You see, there's more to being a man than just the money. We're generational trauma breakers, and it takes more than just money to do that. We have to understand that beyond just providing financially, we have to show up and be leaders in many other ways as well. And that's what I spent a lot of my 20s doing. I not only worked myself up to be financially secure, but I went through therapy. I started working out. I wanted to make sure I can be there physically, emotionally, and financially, and other aspects as well that I can't really think of as I record this video. But I wanted to make sure, whether I have a daughter or a son, or I'm teaching one day, that I always had this image, and I hope other people have it too, that I want to be sort of a superhero for the people in my life. I want to make sure that I'm that type of person that anybody can come to, no matter what problem it is, and I got you. Like, and I know so many people, when they watch this video, they feel the exact same way too, because we know what it felt like growing up in those sorts of environments and not having anyone to support us, very few people to support us. There wasn't any safety net for us. And it's a lot to put on your shoulders, I know, but it's something that I want to strive for, and I'm sure others may feel the same. When I think about legacy, especially as a 31-year-old, it's kind of hard to capture what exactly does that mean, because in many ways, I feel like my life just got started. They say you live 3 lives. If you were to break your life up into 3 sections, assuming that you live to 90 years old, that your first 30 years is that beginning stage of your life, Act 1. From 30 to 60 is Act 2, which I'm in right now. And then from like 60 to 90 is your final act in act 3. And I know that word legacy, many people throw that stuff around when they start hitting retirement age. So it's hard for me to understand what exactly that means at such a young age, relatively speaking. You see, when I was in my 20s, I didn't know it at the time, but I used to doubt myself a lot. I didn't feel confident in making my own life decisions, so I used to seek advice from others. I used to follow other people and use them as examples in the way that I should live my own life. And maybe the time of your 20s is a stage for self-discovery, but if I had to go back and just change one thing, it sounds ironic to say because I'm giving advice, but I want to take as much advice from other people. And I know that's dangerous, and I do want you guys to take it with a caveat, but so many people are so quick to give you advice when they don't even know what's best for you. They think they know what's best for you, but they don't. Because if they're giving you advice based on their own life experiences, that advice can be clouded by their own perspective, their own insecurities that they're projecting onto you. If someone doesn't understand what you value, how can they understand what's best for you? I think the poetry of life, assuming that you're not making poor financial choices, you should always listen to your accountant or any lawyer, full disclaimer. But the poetry of life is allowing yourself to make those mistakes. Because sometimes those mistakes in your life are purposeful. They're there to show you something. I remember I heard this old quote when I was a teenager that I much rather fail living a life that I decided than succeed by living the life that somebody else chose for me. I'm running out of things to say. This is a birthday message that I'm giving to myself or anyone else who's rocking with this right now. I don't know. Maybe I'm on one right now because I just turned 31 and life is such a celebration. But I really hope that anything that I said in this video was valuable to whoever it is that's watching it. And that's the whole purpose of this channel. Maybe I mentioned that before earlier in this video. Every video that I release in this channel is there to basically inspire others by just focusing on a single idea and helping people understand that. So if you've been rocking with me so far and you enjoyed this birthday rant that I went on, make sure you watch some of my other videos, because each of these videos that I release, it's really there to help other people unlock a blocker or solve a certain problem by me sharing my own story. But with that being said, I'm going to sign off. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I hope you guys like this video. I know so many of you guys who are watching these videos right now aren't subscribed. So if you can do me a favor and subscribe to my channel, that can help me grow and spread these positive messages to everybody on the internet who wants to hear them. But with that being said, my name is Terrence Reynolds, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Peace.